Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the RealNex webinar series. Today we'll be talking about the Leasing Agents Technology Toolkit. I'm Jeff Finn, CEO at RealNex, and joined by my co-host on the West Coast, Matthew Smith, who a lot of you know and have worked with over the years. So Matt's going to be taking us on a tour of a number of different aspects of RealNex, starting in the CRM to talk about how do we target new agencies, understanding market inventory, monitoring building performance, profiling, targeting likely tenants, as well as tenant relationship management. All of that you can do in your CRM. And then we'll talk about Market Edge and how to create flyers and content for marketing, as well as our VR solutions for renderings, videos, and virtual reality tours. And then we'll show how we can expose listings into the marketplace and showcase your space availabilities and bring it back together in Market Edge for comparative lease analysis, and probably largely talking about some of the transaction management tools in our landlord application to manage the pipeline, evaluate the numbers, and negotiate terms. So a lot to cover, Matt, in a tight window here today. So we will turn it over to you and open up the session. Anyone having any questions along the way, please feel free to chime in. We'll do our best to address them along the way, and we will be recording the session and distributing it hopefully early tomorrow, or if not early next week. So thanks everyone for joining. Take it away.
Thanks, Jeff, and hopefully that slide deck helped you out. We wanted to show you what portion of the program we're in when we're doing things like targeting new agencies or profiling likely tenants or flyers and campaigns, listing exposure. As sometimes these do move fast, we'll try to slow down so everybody can see everything. However, there is a lot to cover. Remember, there's always your guide me in the upper right-hand corner with training videos. Jeff sends these out as a recorded session, so if you can't make the whole session, they are recorded. If you have different questions, we're around here to help you afterwards as well. So just hit us up on email. So we're going to talk a little bit more about tracking market inventory. And recently, I really got into helping track market inventory with our clients. We do have a new solution called RX Data. You might have noticed the icon in the right-hand corner here. It really allows you to hit that easy button so you can bring in your market inventory, whether that's office, retail, industrial, land, specialty. You can drop that information in there with the click of a button and a couple dollars, and we'll populate that information for you. And then it helps you start to canvas your area and to really start tracking and monitoring building performance. I start to utilize a couple sections within RealNex that have really helped me hone in. And one of them lately has been the mapping. So we have three views. One's a tile view, one is a list view, which you can customize your own views for. Tenant prospecting, standard prospecting, landlord prospecting, and so forth. And you can create these different columns on here and set the information that is most important to you. And then we have the mapping. And mapping is what we focused a lot over the last few weeks with our clients. And this was really a way that we can start tracking market inventory. And we started picking out different areas. Now, my system's a demo database, so it's going to have less information than what may your system have. And what we started doing is we started either pulling in a radius or a polygon. And we said, look, we know that we can go from Carlsbad to Vista, Vista down to Rancho Santa Fe, over to Encinitas, and then over. And then within that area, we said, look, we have one property. We know that there's going to be, 85 industrial properties or 85 office buildings or 85 retail centers, and we want to start walking those buildings. And one of the really nice things with RealNex is you do have the ability to add that inventory in the field. So as you're going out and you're updating that information and tracking that building inventory, we can take that information and you're able to then add the tenants in there so you can start monitoring the building performance and then updating for those pitches. So you can go ahead and reach out to a landlord and say, look, I think your building might be underperforming based upon what we're seeing in the market. And you're able to start keeping track of things in the market with your lease comps and other important data points that are in there. We're also able to start tracking as new leases come about and how leases are coming inside of the system, and we're able to market to that. Now I'm going to take off my filter so you can see some more properties. But if your system would have all those properties in there like this, you're able to start coming down here and start researching those buildings and to be able to really start honing on that market. And the more you know about the building, the better it is. You can use your mobile app, which is an Android or an iPhone app, and you can go out and walk the building. You can take pictures inside each one of the spaces. And then as you walk and talk to each one of the tenants, it's great to find out what attributes do they like, what attributes do they not like. I'm currently in a space right now, and Will, believe it or not, the landlord's been managing this building for a year and a half, never talked to me. And it'd be nice if he did, and then talk to some of the other folks, because we'd love to give them some feedback. So I think it's really important to really know the tenants that are in the building, and then use that information to go out and try to win the pitch. Also, to find out the relationships. So one of the important things is who owns that building and how many buildings do they own? And then who are those tenants and how does that information stack in? As I was working with a company this morning, they're a medical office company. And one of the things that we were doing is managing a lot of the tenant relationships. So what they did is they went ahead and they did some research on companies. They brought the information in through our easy import wizard. And as they're doing that, it brought that company information. And then what I did is I showed them one simple magic trick. And I said, look, you can have one company tied to many companies. And they said, what do you mean? And I said, have you ever had a national tenant? They said, of course. We have a tenant that has 14 locations across the United States, and we'd love to be able to track all the buildings that they lease. And we'd love to track all the buildings that they own. And I said, great, well, we can start managing that. And this is a great way that we can start managing those companies, so we can start managing the relationships within there, and then helping profile those tenants so we can build that relationship up. And then we can use that relationship to go win the business for the owner of the building. And I can say, hey, Steve, not only do we have a huge area of tenant reps inside of our system, as we have an availability, we can email and let them know we have an availability. We also have companies that are going to be leasing these spaces. We have their locations that are across the area. We have the primary contacts. We can see their current locations, so if they have new needs and are going to be moving spaces. And you can see here that under the organization, we have the property right here that they lease. We know their lease expiries. So we're always making sure that we're staying in front of the tenants to make sure that when we have tenants turn over, we're able to fill that space, or if we have an option in the renewal, that we're able to renegotiate the renewal and keep the tenant in there. Or if a tenant vacates, maybe there's an opportunity to build out and use that contiguous space to, keep that tenant in there, but give them and expand their footprint in that space. So utilizing the RealNex program to keep track of the properties and then keep track of the tenants to really see that health in those buildings makes a world of difference. And as I go ahead and I bring you into a property like 123 Anywhere, or 123, let's see here, 123 Anywhere right here on 6336 Greenwich, you can see in here, Chicago Title owns this building, which they own a few other buildings that we represent them, right? So we're going to represent them for their leasing needs. We have the ability to keep track of all the buildings that we represent them for. We know who the primary contact is for each company, so we can report to them properly. We can also go ahead and we can see the complete rent roll for each one of the buildings that we represent them for. We can track when our leases come up, what leases are available in there, and then if any spaces come available, if we want, all we need to do is come over here, and depending on whether we're going to create a flyer or we're just going to take it to market, we can simply hit Analyze Go To, or we can hit List for Lease. Now, if you haven't done this in a while, there's some really neat things that you might want to look at. So I will show you how to take this on the open market if availability comes up. But let's talk about two things. One is, let's talk about winning the relationship, right? So knowing the building, knowing the area, knowing the tenants is a great way to go out there, because, Ronald, you're not going to let me represent your building for lease if I don't know the area and don't know the tenants. As I get to know that information, I'm able to help build that narrative to why you should let me represent your building. But we do have a new feature, which I love. And what it does is it automatically looks in your spaces. And if the space is available, you can mark that one space available, or you can put all 4 spaces on market and then select which one you want available. So there's some really neat things that we have done to improve your usage of the RealNex program and make things more efficient for you. But as we go ahead and we're tracking our marketing inventory on the list view, the map view, we're populating with RX data or third-party data that you're bringing in from the RX data tool or the tools and importing. You're monitoring building performance to see, hey, you know, there's been quite a tenant turnover in the next, I don't know, 12 or 18 months. I think you need some representation here so we can help you negotiate those leases to keep those clients in the building. And I'll walk you through a lease renegotiation here in a few minutes. You can also utilize our marketing campaigns and collateral to go ahead and make sure you retain that. One is you're going to be able to use our real campaigns inside of here that you can look up each one of the companies that lease space, pull up the contacts at those companies, and you can send them reminders on a periodic basis. Maybe you want to remind them about different things in the area. Hey, there's a new center that just opened and it's a gym, and in the gym there's a restaurant, and in the restaurant there's an ice cream parlor. And I know that you're thinking gyms and restaurants and ice cream parlors probably don't go together, but maybe that's something you want to send out to all the tenants for buildings you represent. Or maybe you want to have a simple letter that goes out to them to let them know that their lease is coming up in the next year. And you want to remind them about that, or if they have an option. Now, our email marketing can make this easier for you by merging information. Now, how did I get this information to merge? Down here, you have three little dots. If you click on these three little dots, you can pull any of the information in from the CRM, personal, investor, tenant that you have, and it will fill the information in for every record. So if you have the recipient's first name, which you would have, if you have their tenant square footage or lease expiration, it would populate, their mailing address, their business type, their company address, again, their business type to reiterate, and their mailing address, and then maybe a LinkedIn profile to you. What that's going to do is it's going to personalize each one of the emails you send out. So as you're following up with each one of these tenants to make sure that you're keeping track of that tenant relationship, you're not only personalizing each one of these emails, you're able to track your opens, your clicks, or your bounces, and you're able to schedule these out immediately or at a certain period of time. Maybe you just signed a new lease with one of the tenants and you want to send them out an email every 6 months. You can do that now and schedule the email 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, and start scheduling them out in advance so you don't have to worry about that. And all these things you can use when you go ahead and you create your marketing collateral to win your assignment. And I think that's some of the fun as well. As we go ahead and we hit go to analyze, what that's going to do is it's going to take the building information directly out of the RealNex property side. So as you're going and you're walking those buildings and you're adding the information and you're taking those pictures, you're able to then very rapidly have that information pulled out. I have mine sent to rent roll only, so that way I can show an available space for lease. It brought in the property information. I created a purchase price in here because I do want to show the owner of the building, not only that I can represent them, but if they ever did want to sell, this is the value of their property as well. Brought in my land fields and my building fields. And all this data here, including the property description, overview, and location, are fields that are going to populate right on my presentation, so it's going to streamline my process. If you ever heard the saying, and I say it quite often, is slow down the process to speed up the sale, this is one of those things, is we're trying to slow down that process to speed up the sale. And in creating these flyers, we can make it real simplistic for you. You simply slide over to the income section. You choose the space or spaces that are going to be available. You update any base rent that you have, and then all you need to do is select presentation. The team here at RealNex has gone out of their way to make sure that you have over 220 or 220 templates. You click presentation, you click file, templates, RealNex templates, lease brochure with map, spaces with no map, executive summary. Just choose what you want, and then it's going to go ahead and populate it. Now, your cover sheet might be something different than mine, and that's okay. And it starts to populate what your cover sheets are. And you might have a cover sheet that looks like this, and you might have a cover sheet that looks a little bit different. You might want to fill the photo like I just did there. You might want to go ahead and add what kind of lease it's going to be, and you can just type in here what it's going to be. Now, it brought in pretty much every single thing else from the system, and it highlights what information for the summary I should put in there, like lease rate and term, available square footage, occupancy, building class. And if it doesn't pertain, I can simply hit the X and take it out. And then it gives me some other fields that I can enter. And then things like year built got brought in there, and maybe building class I can add in here. And available square foot, we have a total available square foot of 10,500. And you can see how easy that is to create these for lease brochures. Now, if we want to go ahead and we want to add some additional pages, we can add some additional pages like our agent bio. Maybe you want to add some additional photos. Maybe we want to add other things into here, and we can customize some of the look, some of the feel. We can drag and drop text and maps and images and all kinds of things that we can do with inside of our program, including things like business mapping with retail locations. Or if you want to tie in maybe a rendering or a video or a virtual tour, when you get ready to market that available space, you can do so as well. So not only can you use this to win the pitch, but you can also use this to market the available space for lease. But one of the things that I've seen a few brokers do, and I've started to see more, is going in and saying, here are some of the things that we can do to help your building. Here are some of the tenants we feel that we can bring in. Here's how much money we feel that you're leaving on the table. Here are what the market rents are. Here is the comparables inside the CRM with the reports that you can generate to back up those market rents. And most recently, here are some of the visualizations we're able to create. Like this one here was for medical office, or maybe it was going to be a vacant building. We're going to show what it would look like to put a medical tenant in, or another type of tenant. Here's what it would look like with tenant A, or here's what it would look like with tenant B, or here's what it would look like with tenant C. These were used to win landlord assignments. This one here was used for an industrial building, and this is a last mile distribution center. These are things that we can help you with to help you win these assignments. Building exterior. What does the warehouse space look like? What is a walkthrough like? And I think we did 3 renderings of this with FedEx, DHL, UPS, John Deere, and some other ones. And then we can show in here what the dock height is, clear height. We can put bullet points in here. And these are things that you can showcase to not only win the assignment, you can take screenshots and add these to your marketing collateral here for when you're ready to market, to show those available spaces or that available floor plate or that available building. And Jeff, I think you mentioned this one here. You're more familiar with this one in Williams Plaza, but you said this one was completely.
That's great. That was just raw land. So they wanted to showcase the environment because they needed the anchor tenant to come in before they got started. So we did the model, showed all the residential being built around, built out the inline space, and this was built originally to recruit Sprouts in, which came in. So you'll see we can do a walkthrough with VR, or it can be an applied video where it just runs as a player and you actually see people moving around in the dynamics of the market, but showcasing Sprouts in their space, in the environment, with the look and feel of the completion not only helps to recruit them in, but also in the planning, approval, and capital raising stage of the process.
So just different
for the lease up was anchored by the use of this tool.
And the neat thing about this is it is, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're not licensing this, right, Jeff? This is something that our client would have access to. And if one of the tenants moved out, we can go ahead and change the tenant sign on here.
Absolutely.
There's additional cost to
that.
It's
an asset. It's just like the property. It's a digital twin. You have a virtual rendition of the property, and you can keep adding it. And Sprouts moved out, and Whole Foods moved in. Great. If the gifts became Hallmarks, great. Or if you wanted to position that for Hallmark, you could put them in, and show them as if it's then, and not just do the exterior, but give them an interior walkthrough with their layout and footprint inside.
Yeah, so like Jeff mentioned, it's an asset. So it's really neat to be able to have that. And all three of these are assets. And you can take as many shots as you want to print screen, and then you can put those simply right into your marketing collateral. So not only your collateral can use to win the assignment, the VR can be used to win the assignment, but then it can also be used to market that property. So once you win the assignment and you wanted to create something more complex, for lease with a full brochure and some other information on there, you can simply add as many pages or use one of our templates to do that. And then this information can be emailed, e-published. You can go ahead and list it in our marketplace. And as you win that assignment and you want to get those availabilities to market right away, you can even create a personalized website with those availabilities right on it. And I think that's really important because a lot of people talk the talk, but I think it's important to walk the walk and show your client, here are some of the tools that I use to win the business. Here's some of the tools that I use to manage the business, and to be transparent and say, look, here is the tenant rep pool that I have to bring in all the tenants to fill those spaces. Here are the companies that I'm working with currently to fill those spaces. And here how I negotiate my lease, and here's how we market our properties, and here are the things that we're going to do to win the assignment, because it gets more competitive out there on the market, and you want to make sure that you can get the best rent rates. And I'm watching some people where the owners are coming in and saying, hey, look, we're going to extend your term out and we'll lower it down by this and that, and all kinds of things. And all they need is a little bit of representation, and they can bring the rent rates up to market. And you can use our full financial analysis tool. I'm going to go off on a little tangent here real quick by adding in the income and expenses, and you can actually show the building owner what the impact would be to their building or their future projections, and how does that affect their NOI and so forth by having those tenants turn over and then going to a market rate that's not sufficient, meaning that a non-market rate. So if Steve comes in and doesn't represent them, they're getting $1.85, but with representation from Steve, we're getting to see $2.25. But how would that impact somebody? And you can show that using the RealNex program. So I think that's really important. Also, any of the videos or anything else you want to embed, you can do that. You just select the picture itself and you hit the link button, and you can add a link to that VR tour right from here. So as they get this digital PDF or the PDF, they can click on that and it will bring them to that tour. We also make it real easy. So when you do want to take that to market, you're able to take that to market very rapidly, and we'll actually do this live here. So if you want to take this to market, now that you have some leases, we can pick our available spaces, or I'm going to say all 4 spaces, and hit publish. And again, what it's doing is it's streamlining that process. And don't be shy, Will. Show your client what you've done and how you can take this to market in a very short period of time. And when the other companies are taking 3, 4, 5 days to do this, you're taking 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. Look at that. It brought in my available spaces. Now I'm going to make these. This one's going to be available. This one's available. This one's available. This one's available. Oh, that was pretty easy. Okay, lease type. We'll just put triple net for everything. There might be a couple dollars that you need to put in here. Max rate 2.5. We're going to put in max rate $1.85. Now you can put in here that the rate's negotiable. You still have to put a rate, okay? But if you go ahead and you hit edit in here, you're going to see is just show rate is negotiable. That's all. And now we can make that fully available and hit save. So the nice thing about that is we can make that available, and I think I missed one of the steps right there on that. But again, we're trying to run through this as fast as possible. Also, if this is going to be office and then you wanted to add a subcategory of office, so you wanted to narrow down that criteria, there's creative loft, medical office, or it can be used as straight office. You can select up to 3 types. And then you can create an email campaign out of it. So let me go back in here and see what I need to do to make this one active. Let's hit edit, and let's hit active or available and hit save. It's going to tell me I did something wrong. Land size, building size, and number of units, property type. Okay. So let's see here. We'll just add a couple things in here to it, and I think we'll get to it in just 1 second. Okay. And I'll figure this out here in just 1 minute. Invalid, oh, land size is something there, building, number of buildings is something. All right, I'll have to work on this a little bit later, but the idea is you can make an email campaign out of this in a very short period of time in here. And it will take you a couple other minutes. You also see a syndication tab here. So not only can your property show up on our website, it can go ahead and show up on other websites as well. And again, we want to make sure that your listings are out there on the open market as quick as possible. And it looks like I'm missing a couple things here to add. What am I missing and where am I missing it at? I'll have to work on this here. It's all right. So we'll go ahead and I'm
I
going to
think
get.
you have 1 square foot. I think it need to be an acre in the land down there. That might be it. Just change the square foot. Yeah, you're doing in square feet.
Yeah, something's in there. That's all right. Oh, additional information. That's where it is. I knew I missed it. We'll just put this in here. Now it should save it. Okay, cool. So now we should go ahead and be able to make this active here. And let's make this available. I knew I was missing it somewhere. I just didn't see it. Now we can go ahead and we can email out this property for lease. I can share it out on social media. If you haven't used our Marketplace Direct or Marketplace Direct Premier, I'll show you that in a minute. That'll show your property up on there for sale or for lease, in this case for lease. And then you can email it out. We have plenty of templates in here for your corporation, or you can use one of our many templates that are pre-built in our system, or we can pre-build you one. You can fill in the additional information in here. As Jeff uses the columns, I learned how to use his insert columns before and after. I learned how to use the table properties all from our webinars with Jeff. So if you haven't seen them before, I'll tell you about how you can do that to make it better. You can upload additional photos. So I have a few photos in here that I might want to use. So it brings in your photos as well. And then you can also customize it. So I'm going to apply my default colors. And now I can send my email campaign out. You can send it out to your MSA, so it's a local market. CBS MSA, $49 per blast, state 69, or it's a national tenant, 129. That's to our list to attract people to our list. We have our private list, which would be your CRM contacts. You can email out. In the Navigator program, we give you 1,000. You can add as many emails as you want. You just have to pay for them. So if you want 1 million emails, pay for 1 million a month, no problem. We track your opens, clicks, and opt-outs all within inside of that program. So get all that exposure for your listings, and let's show that Marketplace Direct Premier real quick. It's super neat. This is our Premier Marketplace, gives you all the SEO that you would want. It is at an additional cost above the Marketplace Direct, but it gives you a lot of really cool functionality and customization with inside of that program. So we're just super proud of this coming out. And hopefully we're going to be enhancing this more and more. But what it would do is, whether you're using Marketplace Direct or Marketplace Premier, is your available listing would show up on your website immediately. And if you don't have a website, Will, I like to pick on Will. If you don't have a website, Will will definitely help you with that. We also have a comparative lease analysis in here for owner and tenant side. And this is something that during COVID was used a lot, and it's still used a lot to this day. But it was really neat to be able to see what the impact was if you did a repayment deferred rent versus an extended 2-term rent. And this is a way that you can look at and show the building owner how you were able to negotiate the lease using the original lease. Here's your repayment deferred rent, here's your extended term, or maybe you have, here's your original offer, here's your tenant response, here's your original or your second response, here's your next response, and so forth. And then I'm going to show you how to even compare and contrast those in another way if you want to do that elsewhere. It can take the space information, just like you have in here. So the information you're categorizing in the RealNex CRM portion will push into here, so you don't have to duplicate efforts. Any additional lease data you want to add in, you can add in any additional lease data. Things like electrical and insurance, you can see these here. They're customizable, so you can put in what you need. Recoveries are in here for you as well. And then escalations, they can be done on each month, each year, and your escalation period can be added in there. You can even do a set percentage of increases. Things like OPEX and so forth are in there for you. Then you can go ahead and get a summary, and this is going to give you a side-by-side comparison up to 5 different analysis. So it's going to compare up to 5 different options for you on the owner side. And we can see here we have rent per square foot is 1,000. Here's our start date. Here's our term. There's our abatement, right? So we have 2 months abatement because we're extending this term 2 months. And then if we come down here, we can start looking at this. Go ahead, Jeff.
Nothing. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I thought you were getting excited. And then we can see our right of use and then lease liability. So it's 239 here and 299. We can also go up here and we can see our annual net effective and our present value. So we see a big difference in here when the extended 2 terms versus repayment deferred rent. We also have an actual and variance, and then the same branding will apply across the whole program. So if you have branding inside of your system, your branding in here would match your branding inside of Market Edge. So you can utilize this for the lease comparative analysis, whether it's a summary or cash flow or your lease schedule. Maybe you're going to show your overview comparison. And then this all pushes to a PDF as well as e-publication and an email. So it's just a fantastic way to use it. If you've never used it, get in it, put a deal in it. And there is training videos on how to use it right inside of Guide Me, select them in there. Owner rep at 7.47 minutes. And again, we're here to help you walk through that process. And without further ado, I want to take you over to our tour book. And if you haven't seen this, this is really awesome. Tour book is going to be, you're going to see these 2 lines cross. And so leasing, tenant rep, and tour book application is phenomenal. What it can do is it can manage all your buildings that you have for lease. This one here is branded for another company. We can brand this with your color and your logo. So if you're part of a corporation, awesome. If you're not, no problem. Just email me, msmith@realnex.com. Say, hey, Matt, I want my tour book branded. Here's my primary color and here's my logo, and we'll get that branded for you within 24 to 48 hours, possibly a little bit longer due to the holidays, but we'll get this branded for you. So when you log in, it's your primary color and your logo up there. So it's really cool. And what this does is it helps me keep track of all my transactions. So I can see my prospective tenant that's going to be coming in here. I can see my contact that is bringing the prospective tenant in here. I can see the building that they're looking at. I can see the date that it was created, my value of the lease, my status. I can change all my statuses of my lease here. I can see any comments that were added to that lease, and then I can see what deal name it was pertained to. I can also go ahead and I can see in here.
Matt, just before you continue on, you were saying that you can see it, but the real power of this application is that this is an area to collaborate with your landlord. And so you can give them access so they can see what's going on and see how this pipeline is building and what deals you have in the various stages along the way.
Now, the nice thing about that, and Jeff got a little excited there, which is awesome. What I was going to say is next you can see your deals by building. So each building that you represent for that owner has access to that building and that building only. So remember, if you represent for 243 Cambridge and 245 Saint and 179 Victoria Street, if Jeff's the owner, he can see those 3, but he can't see them all. So in here in this deal list, you can see them all. So if I'm representing a building for Jeff and Jeff wants access to this, he wouldn't have access to my whole assignment list. He would only have access to the buildings that he currently owns. But yeah, it's right. I mean, the tenant portal is phenomenal. So if you do have someone that wants to see it or look in it or access it, they do have view only rights, so they can view the information. So they're not going to change anything or mess you up or do anything like that. But it's phenomenal. Then you can see your active deals, your total value deals, your pipeline, how many deals closed, what your value of closed is, how many inquiries, tours, proposals, lease, and activities. And then it will also create an email to the building owner once a week with all the activity automatically for you. So each building owner will get a report on their building, on their activity without you having to do anything besides update the information in this tour book transaction manager portal. So you don't have to run a report, do anything like that. If you want to run a report, you always could run a report. So you can see the reports on here. Here are all your reports. But these reports will get out there, okay? and they'll get out there. So Fake Lennox Towers is really rocking with 69 inquiries. You can click on them and you can see all the inquiries as well. So just a lot of neat things you can do, and then you can always export it to Excel if you want it. A lot of functionality in it. If you want to go over this more in depth, you can reach out to your local rep. West Coast, Central, and East Coast, we're here to assist you and make sure that you're able to manage 2 square feet or 200 million square feet. We want to do it more efficiently and more fun. Jeff, how much time do we have left? We might be over our time, but I'm really enjoying this.
Yep, we've got some time. If there's questions, if you've got more to cover, is there any cost for the view-only access for the landlords? No, it's part of your subscription. You can invite your landlords, and there's a corollary on the tenant side, so you can bring your tenant rep and do your tour books on the tenant side. So if you're leasing for agency, invite your landlords in. Again, this comes with Navigator. This is called Transaction Manager, and it's the module that you get with
So
the
Jeff,
full package.
I have a client I want to go ahead and I have a deal with, and they said, you know what, Eric's in here. Eric, I want you to have access to this. Eric owns 243 Cambridge Terrace. He says, Matt, I'm currently using this program. I want you to use it. And Eric says, you know what, I use whatever. How would he go about and get this set up to have the owner have access to that? Is that something he does on his own, or is that something we would do for him?
We can help you in the beginning, but we should be able to show you how you can do it self-serve. So you can get to invite, you add your landlord and invite them in. But if you need help, call Matt or someone in any of the tech support team members.
Yes, call me, email me, text me, or put a support ticket in here and say I need to be added to it. And we'll make sure that that gets set up appropriately so you are able to do that. And when you create a landlord deal, you'll start seeing that because we're going to start putting that information in there. But we'll walk you through it. We'll make it easy for you. I just want to make sure that you understand how simple it can be done. It's good seeing everybody on here. And looks like Brian's got a question too. Brian, it was good. We had a good call this morning. I enjoyed working with you guys. Did we get everybody's questions, Jeff?
Sorry about that. Yep, I answered the one was about the cost and the others about the recording. So yes, we have recorded and we'll be distributing this tomorrow.
Tim, just so you know, it's there's going to be an added cost for you to have access to the recording. I think it's like 15 referrals.
You got it.
You know I love you, baby. Anytime.
Any additional questions?
Look, these are all done for each and every one of you. If you have questions, you want to go through some things, while we have a little extra time, I'm going to show you a magic trick. I know that I have a phone number for somebody they called. I just don't know who it was. So I'm going to go up to my global search and I'm going to type in their phone number. Awesome. It's Antonio. Let's give him a call. Neat thing about this is this global search right now searches the whole system. So if you get a missed phone call, no problem. Add somebody in there. If you want to find somebody that's part of a company, like Initial 3, perfect. You can see all the properties they own under here, all the buyers they own, all the projects they're on. This global search is setting the world on fire. It is one of my favorite features ever, for the simple fact that I want to be able to find somebody in here and I want to find out what they own and who they are. Well, there you go. Now I have that information. Antonio is my main man, so he's my go-to. But you see how fast it is. We have a system internally here at RealNex. I do that, and it takes me like, I got to come back like 3 weeks later and it's still searching. I mean, this is insane. And you don't have to do the spaces. You can just type it in here, and it is phenomenal to be able to find that information for you all right.
It's the primary name as well as a nickname. So if you want to call Matty, and that's how you've got him in your system, you just type in how you know him and you got it. And if you forget his name, but you knew he was San Diego, so you can just find him by RealNex San Diego or however you want to try to.
Yeah, and you type in San Diego, and here's all the people in San Diego. It's so cool. I mean, this global search literally sets the world on fire. I've never seen anything like it. that is so fast and so complete, and we can click on the contacts and it will bring up all the contacts in San Diego and puts them into the keyword for you. It is literally game-changing, systematic, pow, right in your face. I think it's one of the coolest things ever added to the program, and I'm so proud of the development team to get that going. Hopefully you all enjoy that. Man, Tim, I miss you, man. You're so great. All right, if anybody has any ideas of how we can better improve our webinars, any tips, tricks, hopefully I went slow enough for everybody here today, but if I did not and you want some additional hand-holding help, just reach out to myself or your local rep, Central West, East, and if you don't know who they are, reach out to me. I'm happy to do that. As always, we appreciate you. Hope everybody had a safe and happy 4th of July and continued success. If you want a presentation of RX data, we're happy to do that for you at no cost. And continued success for everybody. And let's know how we can take over the market together. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jeff, for having me on.
Absolutely. Thanks, Matt. We'll see you next week with persuasive presentations. Look forward to it. Bye-bye.
Man, that's making me work hard. See you guys.